Manipulating precipitation is a primary objective of the ongoing climate engineering operations. Powerful radio frequency microwave transmissions are a key means of manipulation. For the climate engineers, the animation shown, captured on February 12, 2019, is of a transmission facility near Beale Air Force Base in California. The radio frequency microwave transmissions interact with the geoengineering atmospheric aerosols and water vapor, often assisting in dispersing available moisture over a much wider geographic area. As portions of so-called Winter Storm Nadia pass over California, the interaction of the atmospheric moisture and the transmitter facility shown is undeniable. This animation reveals an additional transmission facility near Eureka, California, that was also used to manipulate and modify the incoming moisture stream entering Northern California on February 12, 2019. The effect of radio frequency microwave transmissions on incoming precipitation can easily be seen with a close examination of this satellite radar animation. They are at the core of the straight line beams that can be seen emanating from a central core in numerous locations. The wide swath of frozen precipitation in Northern California is also striking. The animation shows frozen precipitation falling uniformly across Northern California, even in valley regions with elevations only slightly above sea level, and even from this warmer flow of Pacific moisture entering the state. And there is this to consider. Snow was falling in many locations at temperatures far above the freezing point. In the case of my home on the eastern side of Lake Shasta, so-called Winter Storm Nadia was producing snow that started falling at 43 degrees. Why?
This is Dane Wigington with geoengineeringwatch.org. It's Wednesday, February 13th, I believe. Probably a little foggy. I've been up all night long with the really exceptional snowstorm that wasn't supposed to be. How could forecasters not know that this would happen? The prediction was for rain. We got 2 feet of snow. Have not had a single freeze in my location all year until this. Reading has had some freezes. They're lower elevation. Colder, dense air settles into those lower areas because the atmosphere now is so completely derailed from natural historical norms. Snowstorms, because they are not natural, in so many cases don't have anything to do with elevation anymore. What you hear the Weather Channel and other agencies like them, what you hear their paid disinformation actors telling us is that you have a warm side to a winter storm, quote, and a cold side. They cool the eastern half of the U.S. in between record highs, and now they're cooling the western U.S. Seattle, Las Vegas, headlines from Hawaii, that's what the climate engineers like to do most. Create sensationalized headlines so those who don't want to wake up, those who worship elected officials, and I don't care what political party it is, I don't care. It's all part of the scripted political theater to keep the population occupied until the last possible moment. It started snowing yesterday at 43 degrees. Why is it snowing at 43 degrees? How can it snow at 43 degrees? From patented processes of chemical ice nucleation for weather modification. I was up all night attempting to save what trees I could. Couldn't save this oak tree. Already been out with my chainsaw to try to cut it off of the date palm that it crushed. This is a black oak. Crushed 2 of our date palms. There's no leaves on the oak, but the leaves have only recently blown away because our deciduous trees here, the black oaks, is one of those, have been fully foliated with stone dead leaves since particular rains in the fall that clearly have defoliants in them because it has not been cold enough for the precision hormone to drop the leaves from the tree. So they die on the tree shortly after particular rains in the fall, and they hang there on the tree, sometimes all winter long if it's a sheltered location. All winter long. So the forest is being decimated from the top down and from the bottom up. The bioavailable metals in the rains are killing root systems, killing soil microbes. The bottoms of the trees are dying equally as are the tops of the trees. The entire forest is dying. Trees all over the globe are dying. By the latest statistics, we've lost 3.4 trillion trees since the dawn of so-called civilization. Trees that are left are sick and dying. The forest is no longer sequestering carbon, it is expelling carbon. It's not a carbon sink, it's a carbon source. There's 4 massive water tanks I installed this summer when we went through the summer from hell in Northern California. How quickly people forget that we had almost all summer in Northern California with skies that looked like something from another planet. There's forests incinerated everywhere in the North State. I can hear jets passing over right now. In fact, we're not under flight path. Last night, again, all night long, I was trying to beat the snow off of these trees to save what I could. The trees are already fried to a crisp from the UV from our summertime temperatures, even in this location, many times last summer. 90 and 95 degrees at midnight. Something you might expect in Death Valley. And when the climate engineers manufacture winter events, and that's not my opinion, it's not my opinion. Anybody who rolls their eyes and walks away at the notion that the climate engineers can do this simply has not investigated, is willfully ignorant of the technology that exists, starting with patented processes of chemical ice nucleation for weather modification. That's how it starts to snow at 43, 45, even higher temperatures. And we have paid disinformation actors at institutions like the so-called Weather Channel reading their scripts, trying to explain away the completely engineered as natural. That's what they're paid to do. I don't know how they look themselves in the mirror. I truly don't. But that's a society we live in. So many people have sold their souls for a paycheck and a pension. No honor. There's no honor left. The only thing that we own as human beings, the only thing that we can call our own, our sense of honor, our virtue, our morality. How many have bothered to protect that at all costs? And you see how ragged these trees are. These are evergreen trees, but the tops are all dead already because they've been fried to a crisp from the extremely intense UV radiation. The human race taken as a whole has decimated our planet in the geologic blink of an eye. And in the attempt, in the unbelievably arrogant, insane attempt to control nature in the web of life, we have climate modification. And back to the patented processes of chemical ice nucleation for weather modification, those patents available at geoengineeringwatch.org. I challenge anyone who chooses to believe that this is not possible with climate engineering. Search Fox News article, Chinese scientists create artificial snowstorm. Search Popular Science article, Chinese scientists create artificial snowstorm. Other agencies covered that as well. Chinese government openly announced they were doing exactly what you see here, converting what should have been rain into frozen precipitation with endothermic materials, energy absorbing materials. Causes an endothermic reaction, energy absorbing reaction. Can nucleate ice, even as stated on patents, at temperatures in the mid 40s and even higher. And this is what you get. And it creates a cold, dense layer that settles to the surface. So as the chemical nucleating process, sorry, my mouth's cold now because it's chemically nucleated material, extremely cold to the touch. It's not a natural material. And I've been up all night long. I'm a bit tired. Been trying to save trees, been trying to save ducks. I'll get to it in a minute. But as the chemical nucleating process continues, the temperatures drop on the ground, and whatever temperature they start at, they can drop them lower and lower and lower. More carnage from last night's engineered winter weather warfare event in Northern California. All I could hear was jets passing over at a lower elevation. Snow started at 43 degrees. And the ducks you hear, for those that listen to Global Alert News, Bucky is amongst these ducks. I spent much of the night last night trying to save them from the avalanche of snow coming off the tree, crushing the canopy on their duck pen. And I made sure that no duck got crushed. I was in the pen with them. And that's Bucky, right? The black and white duck right there in front of us with the strange wings sticking out. That's Bucky, who survived the ordeal that I described on a recent program. No casualties from the ducks last night, but their pen collapsed in many places thanks to the concrete snow. I tried to take the snow off as many trees as I could to save as many as I could. Not predicted. How do you go from predicting rain to getting 2 feet of snow? Because the climate engineers and chemical ice nucleation is what's dictating this type of insanity. It's how they can make it snow over the pyramids or United Arab Emirates, so they can sensationalize headlines, and those who don't want to believe that we have decimated our once thriving planet in the geologic blink of an eye can go back to sleep and pretend nothing's wrong because their elected officials are telling them so. It's up to all of us. A long night out here last night. It's up to all of us to do our part, to find out what's going on, to stand on credible data and help wake others up. We need to stand in front of agencies peacefully, gathering as many who care about the common good that are willing to do their part. As the birds this morning didn't have any food, so I prepared them a plate so they could eat. They don't have any food because the forest is dying. Some trees I managed to save last night by beating the snow off them over and over and over so they wouldn't collapse. But it's up to all of us to do our part to organize stand-ins in front of agencies who are absolutely playing their part for the power structure by lying about contamination that's in rainwater, that's in runoff. I know this firsthand. Reading Environmental Waste in Northern California invited me to a closed-door meeting a decade ago to show me the runoff tests in the Sacramento River, the drinking water for Southern California, or much of California, not just Southern California. Massive spikes of aluminum, which they have never reported, never, to this day. And that needs to be brought to light. How many officials, how many elected officials, how many agency officials, so-called public protection officials are lying about countless forms of contamination, threats to the population? And those people think that they're going to escape our common fate. They're sadly mistaken. Sadly mistaken. The planet's going down, and engineered events like this won't stop the runaway meltdown of our planet. More in a report this week in Global Alert News of the areas where the climate engineers have engineered anomalous winter weather events like this in between record high temperatures to convince the population that nothing is wrong. It's not about the greater good. Climate engineering is not about the greater good. Climate engineering is about power and control. I'm at a low elevation here, by the way. It's It's only 2,000 feet. Lake Shasta's in the backyard. We had temperatures all last summer, sometimes at midnight, 90 degrees at midnight, 90 in a location like this. All winter long this year, most winter mornings, has been 50 degrees here. Not one freeze, not one where I live. Reading might have some freezes because it's a lower area, colder air settles, especially when they're chemically nucleating the cloud moisture. That cold air settles to the surface. Not one freeze in this location all winter long, and then this. Most winter mornings, until very recently, 45, even 50 degrees, and this now. And more forecasted. While most of the rest of the world continues to bake and burn, especially in the southern hemisphere, ice caps continue to implode, we have this. Because this convinces people everything is fine, when it's anything but. In the coming weeks and months, in the coming summer most especially, the urgency and immediacy of our common plight will become very, very clear.
The winter weather warfare being waged on populations around the globe has and is doing immense and irreparable harm to the environment and the climate system as a whole. The map graphic shown is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's surface temperature departure from normal forecast, or rather, the scheduled weather. The extremely anomalous winter weather whiplash scenarios in the U.S. are even more striking when examined from a global perspective. This is a global departure from normal high temperature forecast map for the same period as the NOAA map. Where is the most anomalously cool region in the entire world? North America. This final image is a GISS global departure from normal high temperature map, and is for the most recent 1 year span in which data is available. Yet again, the only region on the planet that has been consistently cooled down are the most populated regions of the US. The country with a military that is bigger than the next 10 militaries combined. Investigate the Engineering Winter section on the homepage of geoengineeringwatch.org to learn more about the highly toxic chemical ice nucleated cooldowns. Though our planet's life support systems are being systematically decimated by countless forms of human activity, mathematically speaking, the global climate engineering weather warfare assault is the greatest and most immediate threat we collectively face, short of nuclear cataclysm. All of us are needed in the critical battle to expose and halt climate engineering. Share credible data from a credible source. Make your voice heard. This is Dane Wigington with geoengineeringwatch.org.